he wanted to take some 5 minutes to talk to us about some important event that is coming up. However, yeah, we can do that at the end of the session. So without wasting much time, I would like to introduce our facilitator for today's program. It is of great pleasure to introduce our facilitator this evening. And I must say, looking at today's topic, we couldn't have chosen a better person. After all, if you want to talk about spatial plans, it's probably to have someone who knows exactly where everything is supposed to be or to go. Our facilitator, he's a planner by name Dr. Benedict Akhast. He's a distinguished spatial and urban planning professional with over a decade of experience in spatial planning practice across both the public and private sector. Doctor holds a bachelor's degree in human settlement from KNUST and an MSc in spatial planning, specializing in sustainable urban development from University College of London. And he holds a PhD, wow, in spatial planning from KNUST. So ladies and gentlemen, this is someone who has spent quite a considerable amount of time studying where people live, where things should go, where things shouldn't go, and hopefully we should not be putting things anywhere. He currently works with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority with experience in planning, preparation, and brings considerable practical experience in land use and spatial planning, infrastructure, urban development, spatial modeling, urban resilience, climate adaptation, and public policy. Beyond his professional practice, he is also actively involved in the planning professions and currently serves as the second vice president of the Ghana Institute of Planning. With his academic background, professional experience, and direct involvement in spatial plan preparation in Ghana, we are certainly in good hands this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Benedict Akhast as our facilitator for today's CPD presentation. Doc, you're most welcome. The floor is yours, and we promise not to ask you to prepare a spatial plan for this Zoom meeting.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm happy to join this continuous professional development session, and I promise to deliver to the expectation of all professionals on this platform within the next 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Yeah, thank you. I don't know whether I should begin the session.
Yes, please. You can. Yes, you can start sharing your screen. Sorry,
it says
my name is
not
Samuel
on.
Jikunu. My name is
What?
Samuel Jikunu, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I tried sharing. It says that sharing is not turned on. So if you can allow me to share my screen.
Admin, can you allow him to share his screen, please? GGS admin, are you with us? Hello, Michael.
Yes, you are
President.
now co-host, so please stop. I'm on the road, you are now co-host.
Okay. So Just a second, please. Okay.
Yeah, please, can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, let me try if it is moving. Yeah, please, is it moving?
Yes, it's moving.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So we'll begin the session. Yeah, so as the moderator already introduced me, my name is Benedict Akest, and I work with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority as the head of plan preparation. So today I'll be taking you through spatial plan preparation in Ghana. And this will be the outline of my presentation. So briefly talk about the objectives of the session. Then we'll look at the evolution and challenges of spatial planning in Ghana, how spatial planning evolved over the years since the colonial era, the pre-independence era, and the current dispensation. Then we'll look at the current legal and institutional framework for spatial planning in Ghana. Then we'll look at the current spatial planning system, which is a three-tier spatial planning model that is guiding the development of our towns and cities in Ghana. Then we'll talk about the spatial plans under the three-tier spatial planning system in terms of the preparation, in terms of what goes into these three levels of spatial plans, and how these spatial plans are prepared, its focus, its purpose, and the process of the preparation of such spatial plans. Then one of the key components within our new spatial planning framework is the stakeholder engagement and consultation, which is one of the pillars of a successful spatial plan preparation process. Then we'll also talk about strategic environmental assessment, which is one of the requirements with regards to if you are preparing any spatial plan so that your proposals can be subjected to the three pillars of sustainability. They'll look at key takeaways, then we conclude. Yeah, so in terms of this session objectives, at least geospatial professionals or scientists will understand the legal evolution and institutional contexts of spatial planning in Ghana. So if you are doing spatial planning, what is the legal framework that guides how spatial planning is done at all the multi-level governance we have in Ghana? Then which institutions are involved when it comes to spatial planning? Then the second, we will also be able to appreciate the evolution and challenges of spatial planning in Ghana. So in my delivery, we'll understand how spatial planning started from, where it started from, and what contributed to some of the haphazard way developments happening within our urban and rural space. Then we also appreciate the scope of spatial plans in Ghana. Most of us are familiar with some of them, but there are strategic spatial plans that most of us haven't encountered and also experienced yet. Then we also understand the step-by-step process for the preparation of the various levels of spatial plans in Ghana, so that with this knowledge, you'll be able to question the planning authorities if they don't follow through the step-by-step process outlined in the legal framework and also the manuals for the preparation of spatial plans in Ghana. So we'll begin with the evolution of spatial planning in Ghana. That will help us to know the history of where we are coming from. So spatial planning, as we know today, was formally introduced in Ghana by the colonial government at the time in 1945 through an ordinance known as the Town and Country Planning Ordinance of 1945. So after the Second World War, in Britain was going through a reconstruction process of most of its most of its settlement in Britain as a result or in the aftermath of the Second World War. So in Britain, another ordinance known as Town and Country Plan Ordinance was also passed simultaneously during the same time that this ordinance was promulgated in Ghana and most of the colonies in West Africa. So spatial planning is also known as town planning. Some also sometimes use land use planning. Some also use physical planning. All these are terms which mean the same thing, how we organize our towns and cities in terms of activities that we organize, in terms of social structures, in terms of political structures, and in terms of physical structures. So when Britain introduced, or the colonial government at the time introduced spatial planning, it was supposed to support the agenda of modernization and also social transformation in helping Ghana develop as one of its colonies, as well as other colonies in West Africa at the time. So even though the idea was good, modernization of towns and cities in Ghana, and also to promote orderly and progressive development of our human settlement. However, in practice, the outcomes of spatial planning, or what they intended to do, was far different, or was really digressed from what they actually envisaged to be. So in that time, the colonial government was exploiting the natural resources of Ghana, and the spatial planning ordinance, or the town and country planning ordinance that was introduced at the time, was basically to perpetuate their exploitative agenda of the colonial government at that time. So during that time, not all areas in Ghana were declared as planning areas. Few areas were declared as planning areas, and these were areas that they had natural resources that the colonial government was exploiting, like gold, diamond, and also manganese and bauxite. So if you look at Ghana, in Accra, cantonment areas were declared as planning areas, because that is where most of the colonial government, the staff of colonial government at the time, were living. So when you go to Sekondi Takoradi, it was declared as a planning area, because it had most of the natural resources coming to the port, the Takoradi port. So Takwa areas were also declared as planning area, Cape Coast areas. Yeah, so few areas in Ghana were declared as planning areas, to the neglect of other areas in Ghana. So what happened was that the areas that were declared as planning areas, plans were prepared to ensure that these areas were developed. So that's why when it comes to Accra areas like cantonments, rich areas, where you have proper plans that were also translated in space. When you go to Sekondi Takoradi, if you look at the towns, the core of the town, they all have well layouts with infrastructure and all that. So the spatial plans that were introduced at the time were the spatial planning at the time were spatial plans in character. And these spatial plans were supposed to help develop areas which had these natural resources that the colonial government was exploiting. And this resulted in spatial inequalities between the northern part of Ghana and the southern part of Ghana. And even within the southern part of Ghana, there were differentiation in terms of development or how towns and cities were organized, because not all areas were declared as a planning area. So as I've already indicated, the pre-colonial planning system, where we had, say, Alan Barnes, Goggisberg, they all came out with long-term plans, but the long-term plans were geared towards exploiting the natural resources that were in Ghana. So this is a brief evolution of spatial planning in Ghana. So right through independence, the town and country planning ordinance was in place, and that was guiding how towns and cities were supposed to develop. But something also happened in 1994 when the National Development Planning Systems Act was also passed. This act provided legal basis for another tradition of planning at all levels. So that tradition of planning was known as development planning, because at that time, the government of Ghana focus shifted to poverty alleviation, socio-economic development. So they thought that socio-economic development, since it was the focus of government, that resulted in spatial planning being de-emphasized for a long period of time. What it means was that NDPC was created to carry out the socio-economic and environmental and also physical planning as a single integrated task. But however, the spatial planning aspects of the socio-economic planning that NDPC were putting in place or were executing largely de-emphasized spatial planning. So town and country planning became neglected for a very long time. So when you go to the local level, the district assembly, as a result of the creation of NDPC, another unit called Development Planning Unit was also created. That development planning unit also had another stream of planners known as development planners, and they were supposed to carry out the vision of the government of the day, which is any government that comes, it will have its own vision, and the vision will be translated into a national medium-term framework. NDPC will issue those guidelines to the district to prepare what we know as medium-term development plans. So that medium-term development plans did not have a spatial planning components, because people thought, or the institutional framework at the time thought that development planning could be stand-alone. So that also affected spatial planning for a long period of time. So the neglect of spatial planning at the national and regional levels for almost about 30 years also resulted in some of the haphazard development that we witness in our human settlement in Ghana, because most of the areas had piecemeal plans which did not really capture the long-term spatial vision of how a town or a city has to be developed. And there was also the link between development planning at the local level, right from the national, regional, and the district or local level, and spatial planning at the national, regional, and the district level. So we had a town and country planning performing the physical planning aspects or spatial planning aspects. Then the National Development Planning Commission also looking at the socio-economic and policy aspects of planning, which also cascaded to the district level. So government thought it wise that there should be reforms to our spatial planning system, because at the time, the government or the colonial government introduced the Cap 84 primarily to exploit the natural resources of Ghana, and that didn't help our towns and cities develop. So there were several challenges of the old town and country planning ordinance and the British colonial system, or the old planning system that was instituted by the British colonial government at the time. And these were some of the few challenges. So spatial planning was narrowly conceived as encompassing the preparation of layouts for neighborhoods, towns, cities, and development control. So they were piecemeal plans that covers neighborhoods and towns. It didn't look at municipal or district-wide spatial vision of how a district should develop. Again, the new tradition of development planning that I've also highlighted also came with its own challenges, because the focus was basically to address the prevailing socioeconomic development issues and also poverty alleviation issue. That was a time that issues like frameworks like the Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy and all that were introduced in Ghana. All was because the focus of government has shifted to poverty alleviation and addressing socio-economic development within Ghana. Then again, there was lack of long-term spatial view of desired development at the national, regional, district, and also urban centers. So there was no strategic view of how Ghana and also the local government, other multi-level structures or governance structures were also to develop. Again, as I've already indicated, spatial planning was also carried out through a piecemeal approach, which means few areas were declared as planning areas, and those areas at the time a moratorium was also put in place. So it means that once an area is declared as a planning area, nobody is supposed to undertake any development unless or until the plan is finalized and also approved. So there was also lack of framework for coordination of spatial and economic plans. The planning system was also highly centralized, which means that any plan that is prepared in any part of Ghana will have to be brought to Accra for the minister responsible for planning to approve such a plan. Then again, the citizens or stakeholders were not involved in the planning process. The stakeholder participation was primarily by information, and it was limited, and it was also not transparent. And there was also weak human resource capacities at the national, regional, and district levels. So there were few planners that were trained to man the planning authorities within Ghana. Then also there were no clear responsibilities or obligations to provide long-term visions for development at all multi-level governance. Again, most of the districts were using different procedures for the preparation of spatial plans and also approval of spatial plans as well. And at the national level, the medium-term national policy framework that was prepared when each government comes into office did not also have any spatial manifestations with respect to the socio-economic visions that were in those plans. So as a result, the government decided that they have to reform the spatial planning system in Ghana. And as a result, under the Ghana Land Administration projects, government, there were several studies that were done, and a new system of spatial planning came into being. So that system of spatial planning was known as the three-tier planning system. The three-tier spatial planning system was given a legal backing by the promulgation of the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act of 2016, that's Act 925. So the three-tier spatial planning system has 3 levels of spatial plans that are now supposed to be prepared to guide the development of human settlements in Ghana, both at the national, regional, and the district level. So at the top of the tier, we have what we know as the Spatial Development Framework. The Spatial Development Framework. We'll come into details of what a Spatial Development Framework is. So the Spatial Development Framework can be prepared at the national level, the sub-national level, the regional level, the sub-regional level, and also the district level. Then the structure plan at the middle of the tier, we know what we call the structure plan. The structure plan is also prepared at the district level, depending on the size of the district, parts of a district. It can be prepared for settlement within the districts. And that looks at the broad land use zones within a particular area, either national or regional or a district level. Then at the bottom of the tier, we have what we know as the local plan. The local plan is in the past, what we know as layouts. And that is prepared for neighborhoods, communities, suburbs. And that shows the disposition of land. It's a dimensionally accurate plan, which shows in detail where a road should pass, where schools should be, where residences are supposed to be. So here at the local level, it shows the details of how development and activities are supposed to be organized in space. And it is at this level that we also do what we call the street addressing system. So once a plan is prepared, a street address plan will also be prepared and will also accompany the plan. So we'll go into details of what each levels of these plans are and how these plans are prepared. So as I indicated already, the spatial development framework, it is the spatial expression of social, economic, or other policy at national, regional, or district level. And the plan, the SDF, has a lifespan of 20 years. So what the SDF basically means is that all the sectors of the economy, so if you take the sectors of the economy, if you take tourism, if you take agriculture, if you take environment, if you take education, if you take all the sectors, we want to translate the vision of all these sectors or the sectorial plans and policies into how these sectorial plans and policies will play out in space. So what it means that we translate all these sectorial policies into a map or a plan so that people can see whatever vision that we have for all these various sectors, how will it be implemented in space? That is basically what an SDF means, and it's valid for 20 years. Then when it comes to structure plan, is the second tier of plan that we prepare. So the structure plan also defines broad land use zones and trunk infrastructure for a whole district or sub-district or a settlement. So what this means is that if you enter a town or a city, the whole town or city is segmented into the broad land use zones such as residential zone, commercial zone, industrial zone, open space zone, worship zone, civic and cultural zones. So when you enter a town, you are able to identify which areas have all the industries, which areas have all the businesses, which areas have the residents. So that's why we call it a structure plan. So it divides an area into the broad land use zones. Then out of that, local plans can be prepared for all the various zones within an area, and it's valid for 15 years. Then we have at the bottom of the tier, we have the local plan. So the local plan is a detailed, dimensionally accurate plan showing the disposition of land by function and also by purpose. If we say by function, we mean the various land uses, whether it's residential, and if we say by purpose is whether it's for residential, then by function we are looking at if it is residential, what type of residential? Is it a two-story residence or is it a single-story residence? So the local plan now shows details of these levels of plan or details at the local level. Yeah, so for the three-tier spatial planning system is a hierarchical system where each lower level of plan must conform to the plan above it. So what it means is that if you prepare an SDF, and if you are preparing a structure plan, which is the second tier within the three-tier planning system, the structure plan must conform to the spatial development framework. So if you have the National Spatial Development Framework, and you are preparing a regional spatial development framework, the regional spatial development framework should emanate from the national development framework. And if you have a regional spatial development framework and you are preparing a district spatial development framework, the district spatial development framework should also come out of the regional spatial development framework. So it follows in that hierarchy. So each level of plan conforms to the one above it. So if you take the SDF at the national level, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority is in charge of preparation of that SDF. And currently we have one for the whole of Ghana. Then at the regional level, the Regional Spatial Development Framework is prepared by a committee known as the Regional Spatial Planning Committee of the Regional Coordinating Council, which is chaired by the regional minister. So at the regional level, this institution is also responsible for preparing that SDF. Then at the district level, the district assemblies, they are in charge of the preparation of the district spatial development framework. Then when you come to the structure plan, it's also valid for 15 years. LUSPA can prepare that plan. The RCC can also prepare that plan. The district assembly can also prepare that plan. We have certified spatial planning consultants, which can also prepare such plans. Then when it comes to the local plan is primarily the responsibility of the district assembly. So the district assembly is responsible for the preparation of spatial plan. You can have development corporations and development authorities, but the responsibility for the preparation of this plan is primarily the sole preserve of the district planning authority, which is the district assembly. Yeah, so as I mentioned, each level of plan must conform to the higher level plans. And at the regional level, when it comes to the district, the Regional Spatial Planning Committee, they play a key role in ensuring that the plans that are prepared have conformity with other higher level or other strategic spatial plans at the national and the regional level. So when government introduced the reforms, they had 4 key issues or 4 core expectations, as I indicated in the challenges that I highlighted area. So the first expectation was that there should be socioeconomic and spatial integration. I mentioned that when a new tradition of planning was introduced, that is development planning, where National Development Planning Commission were in charge of coming out with those frameworks, that brought the link between spatial planning and development or socioeconomic planning. So the new reforms through the levels of spatial plans, such as the SDF was now to integrate the socioeconomic or development plans into spatial manifestation. So with this new 3-tier spatial planning system, socioeconomic and spatial integration were expected to also be achieved. The next expectation was a hierarchy of conformity. So what it means is that all the levels of plans that are prepared, it should emanate from the national vision, which is normally determined by the government of the day, and also other plans that have been prepared. So the national vision cascades to the regional vision. The regional vision also emanates and goes down. The district's vision also emanates from the regional vision, and that cascades to the structure plan that are prepared, and also the local plan that are also prepared. And again, the new reforms was also to give some form of decentralized authority, was basically to support the decentralization agenda of the government of Ghana, or the 1992 Constitution, which established the decentralization systems, and also the Local Governance Act. So what this means is that now the district assemblies are also planning authorities on their own. They can do their own planning, but whatever planning that they do should come from the national and also the regional vision. Then in terms of inclusive governance, so here we are looking at the formulation of several spatial planning instruments, and also involvement of the citizens, involvement of several stakeholders in the planning process or in the preparation of these spatial plans at all levels. So with the promulgation of the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act in 2016, it declared the whole of Ghana as a planning area. You recall that in my earlier submission, I mentioned that the Town and Country Planning Ordinance did not declare the whole of Ghana as a planning area. Few areas were declared as a planning area. So this anomaly was corrected with the promulgation of the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act of 2016. So the whole of Ghana is now a planning area. What this means is that you cannot undertake any physical development in any area if you don't have a spatial plan. So that is the meaning of that. So Section 45 of the Act 925 declared Ghana, and also the Constitution of Ghana also declared it as a planning area. So the section acts 45 of the Act means that the territory of Ghana, as defined under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, include the land mass. So whatever you do on land, you need to have a spatial plan, airspace. So even in space, if you want to do anything in the air, you need a spatial plan to do that. The subterranean territory, the marine space. Now we are preparing a lot of marine spatial plans to guide how activities, land use activities are organized within our marine space as well, and reclaimed lands. So areas of Galamsey that we want to reclaim, all those areas needs to be prepared, or there should be a plan guiding all these areas. So all these 5 categories of areas that I've mentioned are subjected to, or are part of the planning area of Ghana, which means that the Land Use Act and the spatial planning process needs to be applied in such an area. So now we come to the 10-step iterative planning process. So in terms of the preparation of these spatial plans that I've highlighted, the SDF, the structure plans, and the local plan, there are 10 steps that you go through in coming out with the final output of the plan. So the Act 925, in terms of when you go to the district level, the Act 925 has charged the Spatial Planning Committee. That is the committee of the assembly that performs the spatial planning functions of the district assembly. And that committee is chaired by the district or municipal chief executive. And it has a membership of about 15, which includes the traditional authority, the physical planning officer, the development planning officer, the head of works department of the assembly, the head of roads department of the assembly, the director of the NADMO, a rep from the Lands Commission, a rep from the Environmental Protection Agency, a rep from the Ghana National Fire Service, a rep from the Traditional Authority. So that committee are in charge of the preparation of the spatial plans that I've highlighted, if the district assembly or the planning authority is preparing that plan. And what means is that the plan is not prepared by only the planner. The planner leads the process, because when you go to the district assembly level, the physical planning department is the secretariat of this committee. So what it means is that a planning team, which has been embedded in the Land Use Act, they prepare all these levels of spatial plan. Unlike in the past, that you have a town planner, one person preparing this plan. No, with the Act 925, it has to go through these 10 steps that I'm going to highlight, and it's prepared by a planning team, professional, let's say, professionals within the built environment that has been brought together to prepare this plan. So in preparing any typical spatial plan, that is the SDF, structure plan, local plan, these are the steps that you go through. So the step 1, you set up the process. So the setting up the process is that bringing together your planning team. Once you bring together your planning team, you have to come out with a work plan, and the work plan has to detail the various processes that you go through in coming out with the final plan. And for SDF, it normally takes about a minimum of 9 months before you prepare that spatial plan. When you talk about structure plan, it takes between 12 to 18 months, depending on the extent of the area that you are preparing the plan. And if you are preparing a local plan, depending on the size of the area that you are planning, it takes a minimum of at least 6 months. Yeah, so the step 1, you have to put together your work plan. You have to map your stakeholders. Which stakeholders are you going to engage in the plan as part of the plan preparation process? You have to do your initial site visits of the area that you are preparing the plan for. Then you come out with your inception reports. The inception reports will detail out the process of the preparation of the plan, your work plan, and also a budget for the whole plan preparation process. So that is the step 1. Then the step 2 is data collection. So depending on the type of plan that you have, with the SDF or structure plan or local plan, you have to collect spatial and non-spatial data. So you have your base map. You have to do a lot of surveys. You have to also get remote sensing data. If you have to fly a drone within that area to get certain geophysical features in the area that you are planning the plan for. So basically, you have to collect a lot of data, socioeconomic data, the population of the area that you are planning for is also very key. There are social issues, there are cultural issues. All those things will come under the data collection, because in planning, you need to identify the problem. And once you identify the problem, you have to gather data to be able to establish the base before you can move forward. So that is the step 2. Then the step 3 in the plan preparation process is situational analysis. So within the situational analysis, we want to know what is existing in terms of the various sectors that has been defined in the manual for the preparation of the spatial plan. So the data that you collected, you are going to analyze the data, both spatial data and the non-spatial data, to try to bring meaning to the existing situation that you are establishing. Because at this stage, you need to establish what is existing. Then based on that, you'll be able to identify your challenges and opportunities. Then once you are able to identify that, that will help you in moving on to the next step. Yeah. So the step 4 is now having established what your existing situation is. Now you have to come out with a spatial vision of how you want the area that you are planning for to be developed within the next 20, 15 of the next 5 years, depending of whether you are preparing an SDF or a structure plan or a local plan. So once you set up your vision, you also set up your goals, and the goals should emanate from the spatial vision. And once you come out, you formulate your goals, you also have to formulate your objectives. The objectives should also come out of the goals. Then once you set out your objectives, you also now come out with strategies to actualize the vision, goals, and the objectives. So it is at this stage that you now know your problem, you've gathered the data, you've analyzed the data, you now have your spatial vision of how you want the area that you are planning for to develop in the next 20 years. Then you move to step 5. So the step 5 is where now you translate your vision and goals into scenarios. Scenarios means how we want the area to look like in the next or in future. So the planning team will come out with a minimum of 2 scenarios and that scenarios will be translated into a map or a plan, so that visually people can see how you've translated your vision into space. So the area that you are planning for, you have all your future projections in terms of all the sectors that you identified in your data collection and your analysis. So at this stage, the scenarios will be subjected to stakeholder consultation. So the planning team will now invite stakeholders which cut across traditional authority, NGOs, assembly members, citizens. So depending on the type of plan that you are prepared, you would have mapped your stakeholders at your step 1. Then you invite the stakeholders, present the scenarios or options to them. Then they will also evaluate the 2 options, and now together choose one option which will become the preferred option for spatial development. So that preferred option will now be detailed out into detailed proposals, which will culminate into the spatial plan that you've prepared. So once you are able to select your preferred scenario, you have to do the steps is what we call the strategic environmental assessment. So the strategic environmental assessment is, we want to now subject your proposals that you've developed out of your preferred scenario into the 3 pillars of sustainability: economic, social, and environment. We want to subject it to these 3 pillars of sustainability, so that we can know that the proposals that you are coming up with in your spatial plan are not proposals that will harm the environment or that will not retard socio-economic and economic growth within the area that you are planning for. And at this stage, there is a guideline for how to prepare the strategic environmental assessment report, and the EPA, which is part of the committee, leads the team to prepare that plan, and EPA will approve that SCA, which will be part of the plan. So once that is done, then the step 7, you come out with your implementation plan. Most of the times, we planners say that we prepare plans, but our plans are not implemented. But in the 3-tier spatial plan that has been introduced implementation plan is part of the whole package or the output of the final plan that you prepare. So the implementation plan basically looks at translating your proposals into activities, projects, and programs. And you also come out with agencies and give them responsibilities on what they can do to implement the plan. And we also it is at this stage you cost all your activities or your projects and proposals. Then you indicate the source of funding for the project or the activities and the projects and programs that you've planned for. Then also you have to assign timelines. So normally with the implementation plan, we have 3 levels, 3 phases. We have short term, medium term, and long term. So if it is an SDF, you have to phase out your activities or your project proposals in all the 20 years. So from the 1 to the 20 years, it should be phased out so that at the end of the 20th year, where the plan will expire, you would have been able to implement all your proposals. Then after that, you prepare what we know as monitoring and evaluation plan. So we want to know how you are going to monitor whether your proposals are being implemented or not. Then at the end of the planning cycle or at the end of your plan, if your plan is 20 years and at the end of the 20th year or even after some time, you can evaluate to see whether your plan is on course or is deviating from its original vision. So once the M&E plan is prepared, then you prepare your draft final plan. You subject your draft final plan to another stakeholder consultation for stakeholders to know that the preferred scenario that they chose, this is the final output or proposals that have come out, and this is the final plan. So you receive comments and suggestions that will help you to now come out with your final plan. Then at step 10, you submit it for approval. So for the SDF, at the district, at the national level, the president assigns on it through the NDPC. At the regional level submits it to LUSPA and NDPC for approval. And at the district level, the General Assembly of the district approves the SDF. But when it comes to structure plan and local plan, the Spatial Planning Committee of the Assembly, District Assembly, they approve the structure plans and the local plans. So once it is approved, it is gazetted, and now it is also disseminated across all the levels of or all stakeholders within the area that the plan has been prepared. So when you come to SDF specifically, it's a strategic 20-year vision for spatial development at all levels. So we now focus on what a spatial development framework is. So as I indicated earlier, the SDF is basically the spatial expression of social, economic, and environmental policy that is being translated into space. So it gives a strategic 20-year vision for spatial development within an area. Then, as I indicated, it's prepared at the national, sub-national level. So if it is sub-national SDF, it means 2 or more regions coming together to prepare one because of a common vision or common goal. Then we have the regional SDF. Then we can have the sub-regional. So parts of region also can come together and a plan can be prepared. We can also have a joint district SDF. So the joint district SDF also means 2 districts also coming together to prepare. Then in the Act 925, these are the minimum contents of an SDF. So if you take the SDF, the report itself, these are the minimum contents of what should be in the SDF. So you have the background and justification for the preparation of that SDF. You have the vision and goals and objectives of that SDF. We'll have a description of the area that you are planning for. Then you also have your key issues that you've identified, which is basically the challenges and opportunities. Then you have your sectorial analysis. If you take agriculture, if you take environment, if you take natural environment, if you take built environment, you look at infrastructure and all those issues. And every sectorial analysis is accompanied by a map that makes it spatial plan. So whatever challenges that you've identified within a sector, or if you are doing analysis of a sector, that has to be translated into a map for anybody to see that the issues you are discussing, that is how it is played out in space. So that is the difference between the SDA or the spatial plan and other plans that are prepared. So you also have your development options, which are the scenarios. Then you have your sectorial development proposals. You have your strategic environmental assessment, which I've already indicated. Then you have a composite map of the proposals. So what it means is that if you take an SDF, we have the report and we have the plan, which is a composite of the proposals translated into a map. Then you have your phasing and financing plan, which is also what we call the investment plan. You have your implementation plan. You have your monitoring and evaluation plan. So this is in the Act 925, which gives a minimum content of what an SDF should look like, and also part of the manuals for the preparation of spatial plan as well. So in terms of the SDF preparation process, we also have 10 steps that I already indicated above. So you set up the process. Step 1, you set up the process. The step 2, you collect your data. So you obtain your base map. The base map should have information on topography, administrative boundary, water bodies. You collect spatial and non-spatial data. So we have 8 keys, spatial characteristics that are supposed to be mapped. And each step has an output. So the step 1, the output is an approved inception report. So the output at the end of the step 1 is the approved inception report, which will be submitted. If it is the district assembly that is doing, you have to be submitted. If you are a consultant preparing, you have to submit that inception report. So step 2, the data collection, the output is the baseline report and geodatabase. So here, you will have your baseline report and establish a geodatabase of all the data that you've collected. So that is the output. Then there's step 3, the situational analysis. We have the situational analysis report and maps. So that is the output for step 3. Then step 4, you have reports of this SDF vision, goals and objectives. That is the output. Then there's step 5, you have your draft preferred option scenarios and preferred options. So here, you have to develop a minimum of 2 scenarios, which I've already indicated. Then your step 6, you look at your SCA strategic environmental assessment. So you have your SCA reports as step 6 as an output. Then step 7, you have your implementation plan in place. Then step 8, you have your M&E plan. Then your step 9, you have your draft final SDF, which will be a composite of all the outputs from step 1 to step 8. That will form the draft final SDF. Then at step 10, you have your final draft SDF after it has been approved by stakeholders, and you subject it or you send it for final approval, and it is gazetted. So these are the SDF data requirements. So we have 8 spatial characteristics of data that you need for the preparation of an SDF. The first one is physical and natural environment. So here we collect data on digital elevation models. You have to have data on the contours of the area that you are planning for. Are there any existing water bodies? We want data on soil situation within the area you are planning for, climate data. You have your administrative boundaries. These are the minimum. We have a lot of other geophysical characteristics data that we also collect. We also have natural protected areas. So are there parks, forest reserves? You need data on the parks, existing forest reserve, flood-prone areas, seismic risk areas, degraded areas, and hazards. Then 3, population and human settlement. You need population data from the area that you are planning for, the hierarchy of settlements within the area that you are preparing the SDF for, migration and development trend data as well. Then the 4, you come to economic activity. You want to know the economic profile of the area that, or the population of the area that you are planning for. So you have data on the agriculture industry, the various sectors of the economy, tourism. You have data on employment and local economic development. Then 5, social development. You have to gather data on health, poverty, situation, education data, the educational facilities within the area, issues of gender, accessibility, to some of these social facilities. Then we come to infrastructure, data on roads, rail, air, water, transports, water supply, electricity supply, sanitation, ICT, energy issues within the area that you are planning for. Then we also come to accessibility. You have to determine the accessibility of education and health facility, water, sanitation, electricity, then public transport accessibility as well. Then the eighth kind of data that you need is for governance and security. So the MMDA, in terms of the governance structure, the contribution of civil society organizations, the role of traditional authorities and other security agencies within the area that you are preparing the plan for. So the step 10 is where the plan receives approval, but at this stage, there are quality control checks that are put in place so that we can be sure that the plan that has been prepared will be of good quality. So at the national and sub-national level, we have LUSPA, who does the quality control. The president approves the plan, is published and also disseminated. At the regional level, the LUSPA reviews the RSDF if it's being prepared by the district level. So the regional coordinating council and the regional LUSPA, regional coordinating, they will approve the plan, and also the LUSPA at the regional level also do the checks. Then we have the district special development framework. So the RSPC, regional special development, regional special planning committee, they do quality control, and the General Assembly of the district also approves the SDF, as I've already indicated. So at the regional level, when they are doing the quality control, they check conformity of the district SDF or the joint district SDF with the regional's spatial vision and also the national development perspectives in terms of spatial planning. And they will also check whether all the 10 steps were also followed in the preparation of that SDF. Then you have to have a minimum of at least 3 stakeholder consultation workshops which are documented to ensure that as evidence to see that people are involved in the spatial plan that you, the SDF that you prepared. Then implementation plan, MNE framework are all included as the final outputs, and also the right skills are also applied. Then the certified hard and digital copies are also submitted to the RSPC Secretariat for lodging with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. So after talking about SDF, I want to show you examples of some of the SDFs at all the 3 levels, the national level. So on the left is the National Spatial Development Framework for Ghana, which segmented or which grouped Ghana into development clusters. So we have the Balgatanga cluster, we have the Tamale cluster, we have the Sekedi Takrady cluster, we have the Capos cluster, we have the Sugakope cluster, we have the Doma Grove cluster, we have the Kumasi cluster. So the National Spatial Development Framework clustered Ghana clustered Ghana into the various development clusters and linked them with major infrastructure such as railway, expressway. So currently you can see the government, this current government is talking about constructing an expressway from Accra to Kumasi. It's in this National Spatial Development Framework. So they picked the vision from the National Spatial Development Framework. So this is how Ghana is supposed to develop spatially in the next 20 years. And on the right are examples of some of the national level SDFs that we prepared. Then we have another, there's an example of a regional spatial development framework. So we have a Greater Accra Regional Spatial Development Framework. So this is how Greater Accra region is supposed to develop in the next 20 years. And this plan was prepared and approved in 2017, and it will expire in 2037. So people talk about issue of flooding and all that. All these are captured in the Greater Accra Regional Spatial Development Framework. If the government is not implementing the plan, you cannot blame planning and built environment professionals for not implementing this plan. Then we have the Ashanti Regional Spatial Development Framework. So when you go to Ashanti Region 2, they have a Regional Spatial Development Framework. This is a copy, or this is an example of the plan that was prepared, and it was prepared in 2017. It will also expire in 2037. So that is the regional. Then we also have a regional sub-national SDF that was prepared during the time of SADA. So the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone SDF, which covers about 5 districts of the northern region. So we have the Brong-Ahafo region, then we have the Upper East, Upper West, Northern region, and Upper East. So the 5 regions, and SDF have been prepared for how these 5 regions, which has very common socioeconomic development focus, how they should develop in the next 20 years. And this was also prepared in 2015, which will expire in 2035. Then let's look at an example of a district SDF. So this is an SDF prepared for Kohum Afram Plains South District. So when this government came in, they said they want to develop the Kohum Afram Plains as an agro-industrial enclave. And the Spatial Development Framework we prepared in 2024, which was approved, looking at how that area was. So the focus is that we want to develop that area as a climate-smart agriculture and industrial nodal development enclave, and which aligns with the vision of this current government. When we were preparing that plan, this current government wasn't there. It was the SY government, but because that is the how that area looks like geophysically, and we did a lot of work. That is the focus for that development of that area. Now, this is Kowu West in Nkoko. The capital is in Nkoko. So this is the Spatial Development Framework, a district Spatial Development Framework of how Kowu West municipality should develop in the next 20 years. It was also prepared and approved in 2024. Then this is Sine West, Kwame Danso prepared another district SDF for them on how that area should also develop. And the focus was industrial nodal development and sustainable agriculture. That is what drives the vision of that area. If you want a lot of yam and all those here, because it's a purely agricultural enclave, and that drives the economy of that district. So that became the focus for the preparation of the SDF for that area. Then now we come to the second level of tier, which is the structure plan. So the structure plan is a statutory 15-year land use framework that guides and defines development and redevelopment of areas that we have in Ghana. And this is an example of a structure plan. So the structure plan, as I mentioned, basically shows or depicts how an area should develop within the broad land use zone. So it shows the broad land use areas. When you enter a town or a city, where are the residential zones, where are the commercial zones, where are the industrial zones, where are the educational zones, where are the agricultural areas. So that is basically what a structure plan means. So in terms of the structure plan is 15 years, and every 5 years is also reviewed. So in terms of structure plan, when is it required? It's required when a major settlements are rapidly urbanizing within a district or a town or within a region. So if we see that an area is fastly developing, then quickly a structure plan needs to be prepared. Areas that are subjected to redevelopment and regeneration. So like old mining towns, people have mined in the town. Now mining is not ongoing again. The town is derelict and the town is almost dead. So we want to regenerate or revive the town. A structure plan is prepared. It's required to be prepared for that particular town for its redevelopment. So new towns and urban settlements, part of towns with phased development. So areas near major industrial infrastructure schemes, areas proposed for major tourism or nature conservation project areas. You need to prepare this structure plan, which depicts broad land use zone. So on the right, you can see that these are the designated land use zones in a typical residential or in a typical structure plan area. So you basically see the residential areas, commercial areas, industrial areas. So the industrial areas, you are looking at factories, workshop, cottage industry, educational areas, you are looking at tertiary institutions, secondary school, preschool areas, public space areas. We're looking at recreation areas, cemeteries, forest reserves, heritage sites. For agricultural zones, we'll be looking at crop, tree plantation, animal husbandry areas. For transport and logistics zones, we're looking at areas where ports, facilities, airports, roads, railways are situated. For utility zones, that's where you will find water, electricity, drainage, communication areas that are also designated within that particular area. So these are the designated land use zones for a typical structure plan area. So in terms of the structure plan, it also follows the similar 10-step process. You set up, you do your data collection, do your situational analysis, your vision, goals, and objective, develop your scenarios, you do your SCA, you come up with your implementation plan, MAE plan, your draft final plan, and the plan is approved by the Spatial Planning Committee of the District Assembly. Then these are examples of the structure plan. So this is a structure plan that was prepared for Tamale after the preparation of the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone structure plan. Yeah, Tamale. So this is an example. Yeah. So this is an example of a Tamale structure plan. It's a plan. Yeah, Tamale structure plan. Yeah. Then another example is this is in Nsukka Adreso Adan structure plan. This is for Koforidia area. So this is an example of a structure plan that was prepared. So you can see that all the areas have been segmented into the broad land users. So we have, so even residential, there are different categories of residential. We have residential low density. Normally, residential low density are areas for the rich that they want to. We have residential medium density, and those are areas for the middle class. Then we have residential apartment zone, so that there wouldn't be conflict in how residential areas are configured. The structure plan configures an area into all these areas so that you can have compatibility of activities and facilities within an area as a town is developing. Then now we come to the local plan. Local plan is the one that we normally know as layout in the past, but now it is called a local plan. And this is an example of a local plan. And this depicts, it's a dimensionally accurate plan that guides development of land at the individual plot level. So this is where you see detailed plot sizes, like 70 by 100 plots, where a school should be, where a road, local road should be, where open spaces should be, flood-prone areas, commercial areas, business areas. This is the level that we show all these details. And this is where the traditional authority, who are the landowners, are interested in this kind of plan because it helps them to dispose of land in whatever their traditional area is. So here it's a dimensionally accurate plan. And normally we prepare this plan to the scale of 2,500 scale to help surveyors and other those environment professionals to also translate that plan in space. And also, as I mentioned, it must be prepared for all development areas, and it is a dimensional accurate and guides land development. So in terms of who initiates the preparation of the local plan, the primary function is the district assembly. They are in charge of the preparation of this plan. But this plan can also be initiated by landowners and traditional authorities, so they can initiate the process of the preparation of this plan. Government agencies can also initiate, government agencies like TDC, State Housing, MDAs, they can also Lands Commission, they can also initiate the preparation of this special plan. Developers and corporations, estate agents, and all that. Certified land use planning consultant like us can also initiate the preparation of this plan. And the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority can also initiate the preparation of this plan as any multi-governance level. So at that local plan level, it shows details. So what a local plan must include. So you have to know the population and the population side and density for residential areas. It has to capture basic social services such as electricity, water, sanitation, required land use and overall development, permissible building heights. So this is where you even set high zoning for that particular plan area, so that if somebody, an area with a character of two-story development would not have 16-story development just coming up all of a sudden. So this is where you show all those details. So landscaping requirements. So in terms of your building footprint, what percentage should go into landscaping, both soft and hard landscaping? We have sanitation and environmental protection requirements, road network details, parking and pedestrian walkways, utility service services requirements, drainage, sewage, and solid waste arrangements. Then here at this stage is where we also do what we call the street naming and property addressing system as well. Then in terms of the 10-step preparation, is also similar to SDF and structure plan. You set up the process and also end up with approval and dissemination of that plan. So we have zoning guidelines and planning standards that help the planning team to be able to come up with the various land use proposals for both all the levels of planning, especially at the local plan level, which shows details of how development should be organized within the area that we are planning for. And this is a typical example of a local plan that reflects all the 3 pillars of sustainability. So you could see that a river has been buffered. There's a buffer around the river within the local plan, and also greenery has been created around such areas. We have a lot of greens within that particular area. We have the residential areas, we have the civic and cultural areas, we have the commercial areas, we have the educational areas, we have the nature reserve areas. So it is very colorful, showing, so every color represents depicts a land use. So if you see brown, it's residential. If you see green, it's an open space. If you see yellow with red stripes, it means it's an educational area. If you see a red area, it's either a hospital, a clinic. So all the land use colors have been provided within the zoning guidelines and planning standards to help the planning team and also to help citizens and the stakeholders to be able to identify the various land uses within the area that the plan has been prepared for. Yeah, so those are the 3 levels of plans and the processes that you go through, what they depict, the purpose, and that. And within our 3-tier spatial planning framework, stakeholder engagement and consultation is one of the key requirements before a plan is approved. In the past, you will have town planners sitting in their office and preparing the plan. But here, I've already indicated that a team come together to prepare a plan. And once that team comes together to prepare that plan, we plan with the people. So we have to subject the plan to a detailed stakeholder consultation. And the minimum stakeholder consultation that we can be prepared in the 10-step process is 3. So at the inception stage, when you bring your team together, you do your work plan, you do your budget and all that, you have to have a first stakeholder engagement workshop, and now present to your stakeholders how you are going to carry out preparing the plan, and also the processes that you are going to go through for stakeholders to make suggestions and also approve and own the process. Is a form of stakeholder sensitization as well. So the inception stage, you will do one stakeholder consultation. Then after you gather your data and you analyze the data and you come out with your situation analysis, you have to go do a second stakeholder consultation, present your findings to stakeholders for them to validate the data that you've gathered. Then after that is done, before you move on to your step 4, then after your scenarios, you come out with your scenarios, you do another stakeholder engagement and present the scenarios to them for stakeholders to select one scenario that will culminate into your draft final plan. So this is a minimum. So it can be 3, a minimum of 3, it can be 4. Sometimes we prepare a plan, we do about 6, 7 stakeholders, we meet different goals so that they can understand and also come out with their input in the preparation of the plan. So as step one, you identify and invite all relevant stakeholders, select appropriate venue, use a local language where applicable so that people can understand. Then at step two, you validate the data during the workshop. They confirm key issues, identify, then incorporate stakeholder perspectives into the situational analysis. And at step three, you ensure broad representation, document all comments, you confirm which comments are incorporated and reasons for any exclusions in your final stakeholder engagement. Then you also do, as I mentioned, you do what we call the strategic environmental assessment. So the strategic environmental assessment basically looks at the 3 pillars of sustainability and your proposals, which cut across natural environments, built environment, social development, economic development, are subjected to all the 3 pillars of sustainability. So the team will come out with certain indicators to see whether the proposals are sustainable, are unsustainable. Those who are not unsustainable, you propose mitigation measures to ensure that the proposals you will come out with are things that will help the spatial development of the area that you are planning for. And also, it will help in the implementation or the vision of the government of the day or the vision of that planning authority. So this is the SCA that will be done, and also the monitoring and evaluation framework that will also set indicators, baseline data, targets, and evaluation criteria and reporting criteria, and also period for which all the plans should be reviewed before the horizon of the plan expires. So in bringing my presentation to a close, here are some few key takeaways. So in Ghana, we practice the 3-tier spatial planning system and a chain of conformity. So all plans must form part of the SDF, the structure. We have the SDF, the structure plan, the local plan, and each plan must conform to each level, higher level. Okay. Yeah, above it. So that is one key takeaway. Then in terms of planning authority's role, planning authority ensures quality control of the spatial plans that are prepared by consultants or any other certified planners who prepare these spatial plans. Then, as we've also known, all the 3 spatial plans that are prepared within Ghana's 3-tier spatial planning framework follows a 10-step process or 10 steps before the final output is approved. And this process is iterative, which means that each step feeds into the next step. So you finish one step before you move to the other step, and each step serves as an input to the next step before the final step. Then in terms of stakeholder consultations, we have a minimum of 3 stakeholder consultation that is done at the inception level, the situational analysis level, and also the draft plan level. So a minimum of 3 stakeholder consultations must be done before the plan is approved. Then SCA, strategic environmental assessment, is not optional. It must commence from step 1 and verify at step 6 before the final plan is completed and also approved by the planning authority or the approving authority. So once a plan is prepared and is approved, we don't keep it on the shelves, or the district assembly don't keep it, but it is published and is also disseminated to all the institutions. One of the key institutions, the Lands Commission, the Survey Department, the EPA, they should all have copies of the levels of spatial plans that are prepared so that people can own it. So now, even at the Land Use Spatial Planning Authority, we are coming out with guidelines. If you prepare a community plan, it now should be on a billboard at the entrance of the community. When anybody is coming to the community, they will know that this is the plan for the development of the community, and people can own the plan and also become development control agents if anybody wants to destroy any proposals in the plan. Since the people have seen the plan, they have copies, they will be able to become watchdog over the proposals that have been captured in the plans. So this is where I draw the curtains for my presentation. Thank you, colleagues and friends. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much. This has been an eye-opener. Up until now, some of us, we didn't know whether planning actually exists in Ghana. As our colleague said, Priscilla said, Ghana has excellent spatial plans. All we need is effective implementation, and we'll be okay. That I agree very much. Okay, Doctor, thank you very much. And we've been listening to your presentation. Before I open the floor for questions, I would like to recap some of the things you mentioned to us. So during your presentation, you spoke about the evolution. First, you talked about the objectives, how spatial planning is done, the institutions' involvement, scope of spatial planning in Ghana, and step-by-step spatial planning in Ghana. Then you talked about the evolution, and you mentioned that it started in 1945 through Town and Country Planning Ordinance, CAP 84, if I'm right, which was meant for the modernization and for social transformation. Wow. So, and this was to help develop areas where our colonial masters were actually exploiting. Okay, so in the PNDC also commissioned the 1994 National Development Plan Systems Act that was also passed. Then you went ahead to discuss some of the challenges that this system had. That was spatial planning, lack of long-term spatial view. Planning was done in piecemeal, and then it was centralized in one place, that was in Accra. This had no stakeholder consultation. Human resource was a problem. And the biggest problem also we had was government did not pay much attention to all these plans that was actually established. Then you went ahead to talk about the 3-tier planning system. And you mentioned the structure plan, local plan, and then, no, the spatial development plan first, sorry, structure, and then the local plan. Then the expectations. So the expectations were to get socioeconomic and spatial manifestation, hierarchy of confirmation, decentralization of authority, and inclusive of government. You talked all this under expectations, and then you elaborated a lot. I was listening, and I hope my colleagues too were also listening. Then you talked about the planning areas. So as at now, Section 45 of the Act 925 of 2016 declares the whole of Ghana as a planning area. So we cannot just wake up and do what we want. Thank you. You went ahead to talk about the 10 steps, which are very iterative planning processes. And I realize it's a very cumbersome step for us as a nation to come up with a plan for us to develop. And all these things are sitting down there, and then we ask ourselves, what is happening? Let me continue. Then you talk about the SDF, the purpose, level, and content, which you took us through the 10 steps of preparing the process. And then the 8 spatial characteristics that was required in the data requirement for the SDF. You also mentioned about the quality control, approval, adoption, and dissemination, especially in these 10 steps. Then you showed us some example of, you actually showed us the national SDF cluster, then examples of some of the regional SDFs. I think you showed us a lot of the regions, our local plan, and then we talked about how stakeholder engagement and consultation is done. Then the strategic environmental assess and monitoring and evaluation of your plans. Wow. This, I think, if I'm to go through it again, it qualifies us to have a master's program, to be awarded a master's degree. But I would like us to run this through quickly. Before I open the floor for questions, let me ask the first question. Doc, you mentioned that the plans expire. Does it mean that after the year you've given, especially the SDF, which is 20 years, you would have to go back and redesign the whole place again, plan the whole place again, or what? Why do we have the time duration for it to expire? That's my first question. And my second question will also be replanning of planned areas. Why must we do that if we've gone through all this cumbersome process to come up with a very good plan, spatial plan? Why do you have to replan them? Is it because the plan was not adequate in the beginning, or things have changed, modernization? So let me allow you to answer these two questions for me, and then I'll open the floor for my colleagues to also ask their questions. Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel, for your question. Yeah, so the first question is, why do we have time duration or expiration dates or expiration period for the different levels of spatial plans that I highlighted? Yes.
Yes.
So we have, if you take the SDF, it's valid for 20 years. So at the end of the 20th year, yeah, a new one should be prepared. So it's because planning is dynamic. Once you come out with proposals for an area, because there are a lot of factors, a lot of things that happens within our space, which calls for the revision of some of the proposals that we make. So the spatial plans that we prepare is also in sync with the planning process, which is cyclical. So which means that it doesn't end. The cycles goes on and on. The reason why we have this expiration period for the plans is that things change within the areas that we live and also work. Opportunities come. Several challenges also come as the years goes by. So with all these issues, it has to be incorporated in the proposals that we have that guides how we develop as a people. So that is why we have those expiration periods for the plans. But you don't wait for the plan to expire. If it is a 20-year plan, you don't wait for it to expire before you revise. So for the SDF, it is revised every 4 years. What means is that if you prepare an SDF, it's because every 4 years, Ghana holds an election and a new government comes into office. So the SDF, even though it's a strategic vision for 20 years, within the short term or within the medium term, it has to be revised to capture the vision of the government of the day in that SDF. Because in Ghana, if your plan doesn't capture the vision of the government of the day, you are not going to get money to implement your projects and your activities. So the SDF, if it is prepared, it helps the district assembly to translate the proposals into the medium-term plans of the assembly, because the medium-term plans that is read at the budget hearing, and that is approved by the Ministry of Finance, and that is what is also translated into the composite budget that is approved there. So the SDF, the legal framework, provides that every 4 years it is revised till the 5 years or the 20 years expires. So if you have a good SDF within before the 20th year, you would have prepared for 5 medium-term development plans out of the SDFs, which means that your proposals would have been implemented within that 5 windows of the medium-term development plan. Yeah, so that is the reason why we have expiration period and also revision timelines for the various levels of the plans. If you take the local plan, that one is valid for 5 years, because that one shows the details of how our activities are organized in space, and because it also helps the district planning authorities in land management and urban management. That is very short. That is 5 years. So every 5 years. So it sometimes even after a year, if there is a new discovery. So if you look at where Ghana now we were able to explore lithium in large quantities, commercial quantities. Now, the local plan and the structure plan for that area needs to be revised, because this important national resource has been identified. So the plan will have to be revised to capture this major economic assets or opportunity within that particular area. And you also mentioned that why should we replan areas? Yes, we need to replan area because at the time that you were planning that particular area, you had a certain vision. And once that vision was captured based on the assessments that you did in terms of establishing the situation analysis, after a certain period of time, you need to make those assessments again and now come out with another vision. If that vision was not fully implemented, you can revise the vision and come out with a new plan. So it's part of the planning process, which is cyclical. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just like the way we wanted to rezone the Kachimota forest. Yeah, okay. Let me open the floor for questions, please. If anybody has a question, kindly just lift up your hand and then I would call you to ask your question. Okay, can we have Kofi Ababiu, if you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to know the implementation aspect of the plan, especially with the fiscal, the layout. How is it implemented? Because considering the flooding issue in Accra currently, you could tell that as of the time Accra was being planned, and then the drains, the major drains that were laid down, and then the storage capacity of the drains, currently the inflows that come are more than the capacity that was planned earlier on. Considering the extent of development, especially when it comes to the higher grounds, moving towards Sabri and all those places, you know, and then the covering of the earth. As a lot of developments, people are paving their houses, so it has also contributed to the runoff water that the drains collect. So how is implementation done? If indeed at some point the plan was reviewed, especially 5 years after it was planned, how is the implementation done so that we don't continue to see what we are seeing nowadays? Thank you.
Okay, Doug, please, if you can take this question.
Okay, yes. So implementation, so you are talking about how are the implementation done. So there are certain, that is the reason why we came up with a 3-tier spatial plan. If we take an issue like flooding cannot be solved at the local plan level. So if you look at the local plans, the various levels of spatial plans that I highlighted, local plans normally are prepared for neighborhoods and sectors within a community. So flooding should be tackled holistically. So it is at the SDF and the structure plan level, which looks at a district-wide or municipal-wide spatial perspectives. That is where issues of flooding can be tackled from that level. But if you look at Accra, we had what we call the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area structure plan. That plan was prepared in 1991. So it identified flooding as one of the issues that is very pronounced in Accra. And we came out with strategies to be able to solve the issue of flooding. At that time, the population of Accra wasn't as huge as what we have now. But for over 20 years, 20, 30 years, that plan was not implemented. And in terms of the implementation, the implementation identify certain activities that needs to be carried out. It also add cost to those activities and certain interventions, and it also add timelines to those various interventions that it has proposed. So most of the time, those interventions are not implemented by the government. So normally it's the government that drives the implementation of these strategic interventions. So the reason is that most of the areas in Accra, the districts, even though the three-tier spatial planning system came into being in 2016, if you take the 261 districts in Ghana, only about 50 of them have the structure plan and the local plan. When it comes to Accra, only 2 districts that I know of have the structure plan. In terms of the SDF, about 5 of them have the SDF. So how then do you think that the issue of flooding can be solved? Yes. So the issue of planning cannot be solved at that local plan level that we prepare, because it doesn't really identify the flood hotspots areas. Because if you look at the details of the structure plan, the local plan, it looks at strategic issues like environmental, economic issues. So you are able to identify the issues, come out with interventions. Then you can now use local plans to be able to tackle the issue at the neighborhood level. But because they don't have these long-term strategic plans, that is the reason why some of the shocks and stresses facing our towns and cities like flooding, fires, and all that are still persisting within our area. Yeah, so the implementation plan identify institutions and also add costs of some of the interventions and also add timelines. So if the government doesn't take, or the local planning authority doesn't take the lead in ensuring that these proposals are implemented, then we'll still have persistence of these issues over the years. Even when the plan expires, still those issues will still be there. So these are my few comments on that.
Okay, thank you very much for answering this question. We have a question in the chat here. It says, let me read from Isaac Labi. Let me read. 1, can you please summarize what practically goes into the production of a local plan and how they are implemented on the ground? I think you've talked length about that, but I'll leave it for you. Then the second one is also, I have encountered a lot of local plans that do not conform to the ground situation. Can you explain why this scenario? Doc.
So the first one, I think I've already highlighted on that.
Yes.
So if you look at most of the local plans that are currently guiding the development of our towns and cities, yes, of course, they do not conform to what is exactly on the ground. It is as a result of weak development control. Yes, you don't just prepare the plans and sit in the office as a planning authority. You have to now go to the ground, do what we call development control. Development control means that you are translating what is on the plan onto the ground or into space. So you have the law, that land use acts provide what we call the planning and building inspectorate units, which are supposed to be in the district assembly. So the planning and building inspectorate units comprises of staff from the physical planning department and the works department. So when they are going out to the ground, they take a copy of the local plan. If anybody is doing any development, they check whether that development conforms to proposals in the local plan. If it doesn't conform, they stop the person, they make sure that the person applies for permits, and that development is made to conform to what the local plans are. But because of weak local governance structures and also weak development control, there is no dedicated funding to support the development control functions of the assembly. So most of the assemblies are overwhelmed. Now, development is rather chasing planning instead of planning chasing development. So that is the reason why most of the developments are not conforming to the local plan. And also, if you go to most of the districts, some of their plans are 30 years old, some are 40 years old. As I presented, the local plan is valid for 5 years. So after 5 years, it expires. You need to revise it to really look at areas that fell short of the proposals of the local plan, the re-plan, and ensure that development is or is always contemporary to what your plans really capture. So that is the challenge that we are having. And if you have lawyers who knows the law, they can sue a lot of these assemblies because most of the plans that they are currently operating with are obsolete and doesn't really capture what is exactly the proposals are in the plan.
Yes, Benedict, I agree with you. Also, one other thing that baffles my mind is that currently the problem we face is that there are buildings that are earmarked for demolition. And when you go into it, these buildings have got permits from the district assembly. What can you say about that?
Well, please, the question again, or the observation again, sir.
Yes, I'm saying there are buildings that have been earmarked for demolition, but this building has got a permit from the district assembly. What can you say about it?
Yeah, so those that are earmarked for, is it a district planning authority that earmarked them for demolition, or which entity earmarked them for demolition?
Okay, that's also a good one, because we see on the news lately that some buildings have been marked for demolition because they are in the waterway and it's blocking.
Yes, so those developments are not permitted. Yes, those developments are not permitted. Even today, I was at a particular district assembly and we were checking some plan, and that particular area was a flat plain, a very long stretch. But on the ground, people have, and the recent floods, when you go there, that area floods. And it tells you that, yes, those who prepared the plan actually did a good work and identify, in terms of their situation analysis, they identified that that place is a floodable area. And that is why they left that area as green. But now people have developed and they want the assembly to regularize such development. And once you regularize such a development and issues of flooding also becomes very pronounced, that is where your question comes in. Sometimes, even though the assembly had permitted or regularized their development, they've seen that those particular development are becoming an impediment to flood resilience within the area that they are. So even though their permits have been regularized, they can be earmarked for development, for demolition. So giving you a permit doesn't mean that they have authorized your occupation of the area as the owner of that particular space.
Okay, we can take this further, but there's a question here from Francis. Francis, it says that there are data you have mentioned that are supposed to be public, but as far as I know, they are not. Example, street addresses and naming system. Why are these not public? The street name I see physically on the road is different from the one I see on digital address as my street name. Can you say much about this?
Yes.
Benedict?
So
yes.
Yeah. So the law provides that the district assembly establish what we call the public data room. And the public data room is part of the physical planning department. So that data room is for the public to have access. So you can just walk into the physical planning department, into that public data room, and request for plans. Look at the plans for an area, the street address data that you are saying, it should be there. You can request for that data, pay for something that they have some small fees in the fee facing that you can request that data and pay for the printing of that data for you. So the district assemblies are supposed to establish that public data room where all their plans that I mentioned and anything about spatial planning are displayed there for the public to come and view or the public, for anybody, should just walk in and request for any data. But most of the assemblies haven't established this public data room. Some of them have established. So as Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, once we go for every yearly monitoring, we make sure that they take steps, because it's a legal requirement that was in the Act 925. Yes, so they are supposed to do, but they haven't done it. So as a citizen, you can sue them if they haven't established this public data, or you can require of them that per the law, they are supposed to do it, and they make those data available for you as a professional or as a citizen, for you to use for whatever that you want to use the data for.
Thank you, Doc. And also, Francis, to add, the street names you see on the digital address are being picked from Google Maps. And Google Maps, I don't think it's official naming from our spatial planning institution. It's what people have put in Google Maps. That's what the digital address picks. So we should rely on the street addresses that are being named more than the Google Maps. Thank you. Do we have any other question? We have about 4 minutes to go, and we'll come to an end with this session. Okay, there's another one from Peter. He says, what are the specific roles of surveyors in the 3-tier spatial planning system? Why is a surveyor not posted to the MMDAs, and their roles are now performed by the spatial planning officers?
Yeah.
Doc,
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, so in terms of the 3-tier spatial planning, or the 3-tier spatial plan preparation process, the surveyors play a very critical role. So in terms of base maps, they provide base maps for the preparation of all the 3 levels of plans. Yes, so the base map, which shows, and remember that when we talked about the SDF, I talked about 8 physical or spatial characteristics, or 8 data, spatial data that we need in the preparation of the spatial plan. So a base map showing the geophysical characteristics, like where a road, where existing roads are, where ecologically sensitive areas are, where the topography of the elevations. So the surveyors provide us with that information. So they are very critical before the plan preparation starts and after the output of the plan. So when a structure plan and a local plan is prepared and approved, the surveyors now also translate the plan onto the ground. So what means that they have to now demarcate the various proposals that have been earmarked in the local plan. So we need them before the inception of the plan, and at the end, or after the plan has been approved. So spatial planning officers are not surveyors, and they are not supposed to translate what they have planned on the ground. They have to engage the right qualified surveyors to be able to try, but of course they guide them to ensure that the fidelity of the proposals of the plan are also preserved. So they are not supposed, so if you know a spatial planner also doing survey on the ground, we can report them to the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. You can report them to me, or you can inform the police for the police to arrest them, but it is not within their mandates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please don't go and arrest any spatial plan officer doing this work. Okay, last question from Francis Insia Asante. He says, any online repository to access samples of SDF, structure, and local plans? Then 2, can you kindly share a brief progress on the marine spatial planning? I think we'll take these two questions, and then we'll draw the curtains to a close for today's CPD. So, Doc, if you can help us with these 2 questions. Any online repository to access samples of the SDF?
Okay, I'll send them. Okay. Yeah. So when you go to the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, our website, we have samples of all the SDFs that I mentioned, which LUSPA was involved in. So we have the SDF, the structure plan, and local plans. If you contact me as well, even though I am not an online repository, I'll be able to also get you all the plans that have been prepared. But when you go to LUSPA website, if you click a portion where we have projects and documents, you see all the national SDF, the regional, special the district SDFs that are the structure plan, so that you can read them or go through for you to see how these plans are prepared or the final output of these plans. And again, also we have the for in terms of the marine spatial plan, yes. So that is one of the areas that became part of my PhD, because I realized that within our terrestrial planning aspect, we didn't focus on the marine side. So my PhD area also looked at the marine and the coastal area. So currently, I train spatial planners on how to prepare the marine spatial plan. So we are currently piloting with 3 districts in the Volta region under the WACA project, West Africa Coastal Resilience, which is being sponsored by the World Bank. So World Bank has given LUSPA about $1 million, and we are preparing a spatial development framework, which includes a marine spatial plan that is 200 nautical miles from the coast inside. So we are preparing for the Anoga districts, Keta, and also the K2 South Municipal Assembly. You can see that in terms of coastal erosion and marine issues, the eastern coast of Ghana have a lot of challenges. So World Bank sponsored us, and we are currently in the planning process. The final plan will be completed. We started about 1 year, 2 months ago. So by November, we'll be done with the final plans, and also put it on our website at the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, so that you can also see how these marine spatial plans also look like. So that is what, so it's a new area, but in terms of our manuals for the preparation of spatial plans, we've been able to come out with a guideline on how to prepare a marine spatial plans for districts along the coast, to also help them be able to manage their marine environment or marine space. Thank you.
Doug, thank you very much for the time you've dedicated to spend with us. We know this is not the first, and this is not going to be the last. We have a second part of this presentation, which will come, I think, next week, which is also from LUSPA. But for now, we would like to express our sincere gratitude for making this 2-hour time to be with us. Thank you very much, Doc. But before we go, as I mentioned earlier on, we have some officers from Sambus Ghana Limited who would like to share some few words with us. So if Gerard is on the line, and Bateas, if you can unmute and take the podium.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Sam. Good evening, Dr. Akest. And I just want to start off by saying this was a really insightful engagement. Kudos to the team for putting this together and bringing this to the forefront of discussions. My name is Gerald. I'm a technical account manager at Spatial, responsible for land admin, for government institutions, and also for defense agencies. I would just briefly want to remind us all of the upcoming event that we are organizing, which is the ESRI User Conference West Africa, the 2026 edition. This is the 3rd edition. The first 2 happened in Nigeria, the first in Abuja, and then last year we were in Lagos. This year, we are bringing this to Accra because, again, conversations like this need to happen for both the planning agencies and the implementation agencies to align. And so the ESRI User Conference West Africa, we are launching this on the 15th and 16th of September at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel here in Accra, under the theme Connecting Data, Creating Value, and we are building West Africa's geospatial ecosystem. And to bring such a vision to life, we need to have the relevant people at the forefront of these discussions. And so we are inviting each and every one here, all the surveyors, the geospatial professionals, the land planning professionals, and everyone that interfaces with geospatial data one way or the other. This is us making a call out to you this evening. And so the registration link, I am dropping that in the chat right now. So you can quickly just follow that. And we have a few speakers lined up for the event. We have Dr. Benjamin Togbo, who is with the Forestry Commission. He'll be there speaking. We have Professor Berima Owusu, who would also be speaking during the event. We have the FIG president herself, Dr. Dumashi, also in attendance. We have Mr. Rodney Niamatego of Drone Tech Consults Limited and Mr. Maoli Beko of the Environmental Protection Authority. There are a few more speakers on the lineup, and currently we are running sponsored seats. So some 50 seats have been partially sponsored, and participants would be enjoying a 25% discount. So the original price of a ticket to attend was in CD terms 1,040 cedis. With a 25% discount is now 780 cedis. In US dollar terms, it was $91. It's now $68.25. And in Naira terms, it was 136,500 and it's now 93,500 Naira. So this is a limited opportunity. Currently, some of the seats have been taken, but I want to encourage everyone here to attend. This is the conference where all the key decision makers, all the makers and shakers of the geospatial industry would be present. And so you don't want to miss this. Just by way of reminder, it is happening on Tuesday, 15th to Wednesday, 16th of September, 2026. In fact, we are less than 30 days away. We're about 27 days away from this event kicking off. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have drawn that. I've dropped the link in the chat. I'm dropping it again. You can easily access the registration portal through this link. Thank you all very much. And thank you once again to Dr. Arkest, who would actually also be speaking during the event. So again, if you want to hear more of this and how we are shaping the conversation around spatial planning, Dr. Arkest will be in attendance and will be championing the conversations around that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and good evening to you all. Bye-bye. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Gerald, you are muted.
Yes, I was saying that if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Hello? Can I be heard, please?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Gerard, for your presentation. And I hope I'll see our colleagues there too.
Oh, yes, we look forward to having every single person here. We really look forward to having us here because, again, we need to bring the spatial thinking to the forefront of our national consciousness, and not just in Ghana, but across the West African sub-region as well. So we're having speakers from across countries in West Africa who will be there, and we can share ideas amongst ourselves on how we are all contributing to this spatial journey one way or the other. So I really look forward to each and every one here on this call tonight. look forward to seeing you at the event. Mr. Abibioje, I think you have your hand up. If you have a question for me, by all means, please go ahead.
Yes, please. Thank you for giving me the room for one more question. So, all of us being exposed to this information, in-depth knowledge of how planning is done, is there room for us to also advise? Let's say you go to a place. I'm a surveyor. I'm a land surveyor, and then sometimes you are following on to give advice on some area that someone will want you to do demarcations. Mostly, I advise that you get the approved layout from the assembly. But here's the case: some of the assembly's plans are way outdated. So, in our capacity as professionals and be exposed to this knowledge now, is there room for us to at least advise the assembly, or if not at all, what can we do about it? Yes, that's my question.
Hello, Kofi. Is this question meant for the spatial planning that we just finished, or it's meant for GEAR?
Yes, the spatial planning what we just finished today.
Okay, all right. So I think you would have to hold on for this question, and then the next time we meet, then we have another session on spatial planning. I think hopefully next week. Then you can ask this question because we are about to do the curtains down on this session. I'm sorry about that. Please, Baba, please, do you have a question?
Yes, please. Good evening, and I was thrilled to be joining this program. My question has to do with the conference. So the package has been reduced to 780 CD. So we those that are coming from far to attend, is it that you have to get your own accommodation? How is it going to be? I just want to know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Baba, for your question. So yes, the fee for the conference only covers access to the conference, exhibition, and it doesn't cover accommodation. So you would have to make arrangements for your accommodation if you are coming and you wouldn't have a place to stay. You would have to make accommodations for that. But if you want recommendations, we are more than happy to help you find a place for the 2 days that you would be attending the conference. We'll be more than happy to help you with that. So please get in touch if you would have that such requirements. By all means, please get in touch. But just to be clear, the fee does not cover your accommodation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for reminding us of this conference. However, I would also like to remind members of the GGS of our annual conference and general meeting, which comes off from 28th to 29th September in Accra here.
October.
Sorry, October. From 28th to 29th October in Accra. So members, you should note this date on your calendar and prepare to attend the conference. It's from 28th to 29th of October, sorry. Why am I saying September? October 2026. So if you have any questions, just contact the Secretariat of GGS, and then your questions will be addressed. On this note, I would like to close today's CPD, which was brought to you by the Engineering and Infrastructural Group, Working Group of Ghana Geospatial Society. You've been a tremendous listener, and we appreciate your participation. We hope that anytime we call upon you, you will join us to make such discussions very relevant. This is to build our nation and to build the society too. Thank you very much. Your moderator has been Sam Jikunu. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.